Hi, my name is Scott Gibson with Beneath the Surface. I'm here with Eric Coffin of Hard Rock Analyst Publication. Eric, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Now, last time we talked a little bit about what's going on macro globally and how that might affect our market. I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about gold itself. Where's gold at? What's gold likely to be doing? What's your forecast there?
It's about 1580 now. I'd like to give you a gold bug answer and say, well, gosh, I think it's going to $5,000 or something. In the last few months, it's really been trading with the euro, it seems. Which means against the dollar with the euro, however you want to take that. The euro dollar pair is by far the biggest currency pair as far as trading goes. Really what people are looking for and hoping for is it's a currency itself. It's a bet against other currencies. So whenever you see announcements from a major central bank, not a minor one, but like the Fed or the ECB, Bank of Japan a little bit less, but when you see stimulus or you see these organizations or the governments behind them for that matter saying, effectively we're going to print a whole bunch of money, that's what drives the price higher. There's been, a lot of light stimulus, stimulus light, I guess I'd call it, sort of stuff in the last couple of months. A lot of people think that we're going to inevitably almost see something more dramatic. The Fed, I think, might do something if things weaken more. The ECB, I think they're waiting to see the politicians sort of finish off a couple of these things that they're doing, like bank supervision and stuff. The head of the ECB has been pretty straight up for months saying, I can do this stuff, but it doesn't mean anything unless you guys are doing your job first. I think if they actually get a couple of these things like the European-wide bank regulation kind of nailed down or some kind of framework, it's quite possible the ECB would, give them a present, if you will, and do another round of bond buying. Anything like that where they're printing a lot of money is going to help the gold price. And I think that's what you need to see. I think exclusive of that, I'm not seeing things changing rapidly enough that I would expect to see this big giant run in the gold price unless something political like that happens. I think it's probably going to go back up through 1600. One thing with the dollar is a lot of the strength in the dollar has been weakness in other currencies. It's not so much the dollar is great, it's that something happens, freaks traders out, they all go run into the treasury market and they buy dollars while they're doing that effectively. And I think if the markets are looking a little bit perkier, I think if they do improve in the fall, like a lot of us think they will, I think the gold price probably improves with them because you'll see money coming out of treasuries back into equities, and that'll kind of drop the dollar down a little bit, and that'll help the gold price. So 1650 something. I'm not expecting fireworks.
Mm-hmm. But the gold price could improve and the market could be improving in the fall. But even right now, we're seeing some of the stocks that are starting to move.
Yeah, it's been it's been a long wait. A lot of them it's one discovery names, and I think there's also stocks where guys have just decided they're probably not going to get much cheaper. You've kind of seen the market starting to bounce along a bottom here, mm-hmm. and the kind of traders that tend to be early on these markets, you're starting to see those guys put bids in. I'm seeing a little more volume, not a lot, but just in the last couple of weeks, the volumes were horrible on the juniors. They're just awful. Mm-hmm. You're seeing, you've probably seen like a 30% increase, which is nothing, frankly. It's got to double from here to be healthy. Mm-hmm. But that's how it starts. I don't think there too, you're not going to see anything dramatic except for maybe specific companies that pull some big boomer drill hole or something.
Well, what are some of those specific companies?
Well, there's a few. One of the ones that has put out great holes is Gold Quest. They've had this huge run, and the interesting thing about Gold Quest too is there's a company that's north of Gold Quest called Unigold, which we don't follow, but it's one of these companies we've kept an eye on because it's kind of in the same area. Mm-hmm. They've been drilling something. They're not getting holes as spectacular as Gold Quest,
but still good.
But they're getting good holes, and they've gotten a lot of good holes. There's clearly going to be a gold resource there. Mm-hmm. And the last release was, it was a good hole. The best hole was 70 meters at 3 grams. That's a good hole. It's very interesting because it's very, very similar. Geologically, it appears to be almost the same as Gold Quest. The big difference is Gold Quest has a lot of copper in some of their holes. Unigold has some, but not really very much. That may mean that Gold Quest is closer to the source, whatever that is, the heat source. I mean, all of these deposits, all of these alterations on these systems are all driven by heat originally when they're created, and normally the hotter part of the system, which is usually closer to the center of it, whatever the center is, in this case they don't know, normally you have copper being higher grade, that just it tends to drop out at higher temperatures than say zinc or silver does. So on that basis alone, like maybe they've got something. And then if you go farther, a little bit farther north, just past Unigold on the other side of them to the northeast, northwest rather, there's a company in Haiti, because their Unigold's kind of tucked against the Haitian border. There's a company called Eurasian Minerals, and they have a project there that Newmont's a JV partner of called Lamiel. That's got, I don't remember but it has a resource. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is, but it's around 1 million ounces or so. Same thing again. This belt of rocks, there's the Terreo belt, there's something going on there. It wasn't really recognized until Unigold and Eurasian made some discoveries, and Gold Quest has been actually there for years, but it's not really until recently when Gold Quest got a lot of attention that you've seen analysts going up and going, Unigold, Gold Quest, Eurasian, looking at all of them and kind of going, well, this is all the same rocks. I mean, there's something going on here.
In terms of disclosure, I do own Gold Quest and I own Eurasian, but I don't own Unigold. How about yourself?
Yeah, I own some Unigold. I own more Gold Quest.
More Gold Quest and Eurasian?
I don't own any Eurasian right now.
And now that's all Dominican Republic. That can't be the only place that's hot. The only place that could be.
Well, that's DR, and it's in Haiti. The other, the other area the other areas that are looking, interesting. I mean, Attack has put out some really nice holes recently. They're drilling their Nataline Trend stuff, which is a Carlin discovery in the Yukon, the first bona fide Carlin discovery in the Yukon. They've gotten really nice results there again this year. It's early going in this drill program. It's a 15,000 meter program. They've only put out the first 7 or 8 holes. They've drilled 50. They'll probably drill 80 or 100. There's other stuff up in the Yukon. Kaminak keeps putting out good holes. They seem to have reached that point where it's sort of almost development stage, where it's harder for them to generate sort of excitement. They do have a new area called Sugar that's at the other end of the Coffee property. Very large anomalies. It's never been drilled, and that they're probably drilling now. If they're not, they'll be drilling within a couple of days. Hopefully they get some joy, because I think that would kind of wake people up, because it's sort of a new thing. There's a lot of companies doing well in West Africa. West Africa is one of these places that it's been extremely successful at an exploration level, but it tends to come and go as far as the market's concerned. Guys get good valuations and lousy valuations with the same assets, really. But a company we followed for a long time called Riverstone, they're still drilling like crazy. They've got a lot of drill results coming in the next couple of months, because there was a period there where there were so many rigs going in Burkina Faso, the country they're in, where the labs got unbelievably slow. The turnaround time was like 4, 5, 6 months for assays. Because the market's so dead this year and so many fewer people are drilling, now they're playing catch up, so there's results coming in really, really fast. The next thing to come from them, and I'm not sure which order this is going to be in, but I think they will actually have a preliminary economic assessment. I think that's actually going to come before the next resource upgrade. They've got over 3 million ounces there now. I think they're going to, they'll probably add another 20-30% at least. They've actually been getting better grades in their recent holes than the existing resources. Like the recent holes at Gulagu, the grades are better than the resource they have there. Recent holes at Cow, the grades are better than the resource. So I think you may see the resource increase and the grades come up a little bit. And it's a nice project, and I think the PEA numbers are going to be good, I think.
And disclosure, I do own Riverstone, Kaminak, and Attack, all three.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a couple of companies that are in that same group as Attack, the same sort of management technical group. One that I would certainly keep an eye on, because it's done nothing trading-wise, it's just kind of sitting there, is a company called Silver Range, and that was spun out from Strategic, and Strategic is sort of the mother company of that group. It's the biggest shareholder in Attack. It's the biggest shareholder in Silver Range, and a bunch of other ones. Silver Range has a bunch of stuff around Faro. Faro was a big base metal operation in the 70s and 80s. It's a fairly large lead zinc mine. They've picked up a bunch of stuff in that area. They're drilling a bunch of kind of low-grade silver, lead, zinc stuff. I mean, they're looking for big open pit sort of things. And that's sort of interesting, but the stuff that we found more intriguing was new discoveries they made close to the northeast, kind of closer to Keno. Keno Hill's a fairly famous silver, a famous silver camp, and it's in production again. But they found brand new stuff, and I got a soft spot for new stuff that sounds very Keno-ish, if you will. Very high silver grades. It sounds like it's a few meters wide. They've picked it up over a kilometer or two. That's being drilled right now, so I'm quite interested to see what those drill results look like.
I do own Strategic. I don't own Silver Range.
Yeah, I'm the other way around. I don't own Strategic right now, but I do own Silver Range. Other areas, something that came up on the radar. It's again, this is a company we followed for years. It's actually over in Eastern Europe, and there's a lot of really good geology in that area. I mean, it was on the other side of the Iron Curtain for a long time, so it didn't get much notice. But it's actually a big, areas like Serbia, Poland, Czechoslovakia. That whole belt through there, all the way down to the Black Sea, is a very rich belt. Big mining operations, but just nobody had ever heard of them. It was all Eastern European state companies until recently. One company in Eastern Europe that we've been following for a couple of years is called Euromax. They have several advanced projects. Two of them have resources. One is a project called Trun. It's got about a 1.7 million ounce gold resource at about 1.3 grams, I think it is. The second project, I think in their minds it's the first project now, is one called Ilovica, which is copper gold porphyry, about 300 million tons of 0.3 copper, 0.3 gold. They've got a third one called KMC, which is a really strange duct. It's this really huge alteration mineralized system that's like skarns and veins and porphyry, and there's stuff in there that's carrying PGEs. It's just this really strange thing. But it's this really big mineralized system, so they're gonna play with it. I mean, they put some drill holes in it. What's interesting about Euromax, and this is the kind of situation that we've been trying to kind of latch onto more in terms of the companies we follow. What happened with Euromax was very quietly, about 2 months ago, a new management group came in, and it was very friendly. It wasn't a hostile thing. The company that came in used to run a company called European Goldfields. They were taken out by somebody.
How much were they taken out for?
$2.4 billion. And basically their projects were same area, a couple of Eastern European. Their main project, I guess, was also a copper gold porphyry in Greece. And I think what happened was these guys, once that was done, they were taken over. They looked around and they looked at Euromax and they said, you know what? I mean, their assets look exactly like our assets looked like 3-4 years ago. We just got taken out for $2.4 billion. Their market cap's $25 million. Let's go and talk to those guys, which they did. If you go back about a month or so, you'll see a 40 million share placement at 15 cents, and I won't pretend that it made me happy, but as a shareholder. But I was okay with it because it was obviously a positioning placement. This new management group has come in, so it's like the CEO is still there, but it's a new president, new chairman, mainly new board, and it's basically all of these European mineral guys, and they're saying, look, this is basically the same asset base. Most of the countries Euromax is in are probably going to be easier to deal with slightly than the countries we were in terms of permitting and stuff. They really like Ilovica. They're drilling that now. They think they can make Ilovica into a 6 or 8 or billion ton deposit. They like KMC too. Like I said, it's a bit more of a queer duct, but they're drilling it to. I think they're really going to focus on the skarns and the porphyry. Trun has got a nice. It's a nice gold deposit, fair size, and basically these guys have started doing all this work. You'll see a lot of results, I think, in the next 2-3 months. But more to the point, I think what you'll see this group do is they'll start marketing the company. They'll go around to the market and say, look, we're the same guys that built that other set of assets up, sold it for $2.5 billion. This is basically the same stuff, same guys all over again. That gives you scope for a lot of room for a value increase from $30 or $40 million.
Yeah, and I do own that one.
Yeah, no, I own it too. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story, that one. And another one in Eastern Europe that it was a company we used to follow And we started following this company because they had projects in, where was it, Serbia, Macedonia, mainly Serbia. This company called Reservoir Minerals. And it was called Reservoir because the other thing they had was actually exploration permits, I guess if you want to call them that, to investigate run-of-river and dam hydro projects in Serbia. And as time went on, the management group got more and more interested in pursuing the hydroelectric stuff. So what they did is they basically spun all of the resource projects off into a company called Reservoir Minerals. The other Reservoir Capital is still there. It's still working on hydro stuff. So it sort of got added to our list because it was a spin-off from the other one. They've got several pretty interesting looking projects. They obviously have some market support. I mean, last year when they did this spin-out late last year, and the market was already starting to get pretty unhappy, they financed it at 65 cents to the tune of about $9.5 million. They've got 25 million shares out. Most of that was this 15 million share placement. 9 million shares went to the Reservoir Capital shareholders pro rata. There's a couple million founder shares. They brought in guys that have a lot of experience in the majors in this area. They're working on several projects, but the one that got the market's attention is one called Timok, and it's one that used to be called Brestovac back in the day. That's what they used to call it. They changed the name when they made it larger. It's next to one of these mining camps in Eastern Europe that most people have never heard about, but it's a big mining camp. It's called the Bor Complex, BOR. It's one of the world's larger copper deposits. It's been mined for 80, 90 years now. You know, they started mining really high grade stuff, then medium grade. Now they're doing the big low grade thing, but it's a big complex. They did a deal with Freeport McMoran. Freeport can earn up to 75% by taking it through to feasibility, and frankly, normally that kind of deal is where I'd lose interest. As soon as I saw that, I'd be like, okay, boring, move on. They kind of got my attention again because, like a few other companies, they put out a pretty amazing drill hole 3 or 4 days ago. It was 266 meters of 1.25% copper equivalent, basic 1.07 copper and 0.28 gold, something like that. Not shallow. It starts at about 600 meters, but this sort of, you know, if this is what they hope it is, if it's something large, that depth isn't that big a deal. You'd simply go down and there's a mining method called block caving that they use up and down the Andes in Chile, big underground copper deposits, and it's a high production rate mining method. These are big mining operations. Freeport already has, and by the time they put this news out, I mean, this was almost a 2-kilometer drill hole. So they put out the first half of the hole, the first kilometer of core. They're still waiting for the second half. It sounds to me like there's actually a porphyry under this stuff, and that sounds like they went into a porphyry. Freeport's obviously not kidding around. They've got 4 really big rigs already turning simultaneously, 200 meters in every direction, drilling 2-kilometer deep holes. I mean, those holes cost millions each. Like, these guys are not fooling around. They've obviously decided this is something fairly real. Normally, I have a hard time getting excited about that sort of an earn-out situation. But my view on it is, if it's what Freeport hopes it is, this is not going to be a small capex deal. It's going to be, you know, very big, very expensive to build. Just to get it through to feasibility, probably hundreds of millions. I mean, you're talking that kind of money. The company now has about a $25 million market cap. Resources does. They've got $8 million in the bank. They've got several other interesting projects. I got to think if they hit on another 5 or 6 or 10 holes that look like that, if I was Freeport, I know what I would do. I'd say, I don't really want these guys around. Partially because why carry them when you have to spend that much money? Partially it's a disclosure thing. I mean, if Freeport thinks they're onto something that might be something they can replicate, they're not going to be that crazy about putting out information, but they don't really have a choice. I mean, the junior has to put out information. Mm-hmm. So.
And you've been quite successful over the last few years with takeovers, predicting them.
We've had a lot. Yeah, we've probably had, I think on our list in the last 6-7 years there's been, I don't know, 15, 16 companies have gone off the list because they were taken over by a larger company. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, of the total list, I'd say 20 or 30% of the companies we've initiated on are gone because someone took them out.
Mm-hmm. Well, success and more things to watch. Thanks very much for being with us, Eric, to tell us a little bit about some of the companies that are getting some traction in the market today.
And hopefully they keep getting traction.
Hopefully they do. Again, that's Eric Coffin of Hard Rock Analyst. My name is Scott Gibson with Beneath the Surface. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.